Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mr. Greg David,
Present.
Mr. Tyler Dean, he is absent. Ms. Emily Hamburg,
Here.
Mr. Brandon McIntosh,
Present.
and Mr. Mike Proctor.
Present.
And you have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. So this evening we have Pastor Michael Werda will lead us in prayer. Pastor Werda is a Bel Aire resident. He is also associate pastor for students at Calvary Baptist Church in Valley Center since October of 2025. He is married to Anna. They have 5 children. He served 10 years in active duty in the Army, and he earned his Master's Divinity degree from Liberty University and looks forward to discovering how God desires to grow students at Calvary. So Pastor Werda, please come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the opportunity to gather today and for the privilege of living in this community. Father, we're grateful for those who accepted the responsibility of serving our city. Father, we ask for your wisdom to guide our mayor and the council members as they make decisions that affect the lives of those who live here. Father, I pray that you would grant them discernment, give them integrity, humility, and courage as they seek what is right, and that they serve the common good of this community. May every discussion be marked by respect, wisdom, and a desire to serve our neighbors. We thank you so much for those who serve. Father, we ask for your protection on our policemen and firefighters, those who serve our community. And Father, we pray for the people of this city. Bless our families, our businesses, and all who call this community home. Help us to care for one another and to work together for the flourishing of our community. I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please join me in pledge of allegiance to the American flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is to determine agenda additions. Are there any additions to the agenda that we need to consider? And hearing none, I can move on to consent agenda. So the only thing on the consent agenda is the minutes from the last council meeting of June 2nd, 2026.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
I'd like to motion to approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McIntosh, a second by Mr. David. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next item is discussion and approval of appropriation ordinance. This ordinance encompasses expenses from May 27 through June 8th. Expenditures amount to $1,325 and $25,500. Of those reported expenses, $892,000 are infrastructure costs for new developments, and these costs are paid through special assessments.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I make a motion to approve appropriations ordinance number 26-11.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Hamburg, a second by Mr. McIntosh. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll move on to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. This evening, we have 3 requested appearances. So the first is former Derby Mayor Randy White, and I have known Randy for several years through the Sedgwick County Association of Cities, and Randy will speak about Friends of McConnell program. So, Mr. White, if you'd like to come to the podium and tell us what you have to present.
I can do that. It feels a little funny being on this side of this podium, but I'll do my best. First of all, a couple thank yous. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for not calling me ex-mayor. I feel like I did jail time when I get called that, and I prefer former mayor. Secondly, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. My background is I spent 2 years on the planning commission, 4 years on council, 9 years as a mayor of Derby. I have sat in your seats. I know what they feel like. I know everybody has the same opinion, and that is not in my backyard. Build it somewhere else, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I get all that. So anyways, I just want to thank you personally. This is a great town. This whole end of town. I used to think everything was happening in Derby. But I can tell you, the north end of Wichita, between you guys and Park City and Bel and Mays and some of the other cities, we live in a great community, and it's a great place to live. How did I get here? After getting wore out by being the mayor for 9 years, I was looking for something else to do. And I had spent 9 years going around telling everybody that we couldn't have a better neighbor than McConnell Air Force Base. And let me be up front with you. It's not their $1.2 billion budget that they bring to town. It's not the amazing people that they bring to town that live right here in this community and communities all around the areas. I'll tell you a real quick story. Nate Vogel, the colonel, 3 colonels ago, he wanted to expand the community support between McConnell and the communities. So he pulled a run, found out where everybody lived, and he got a hold of the mayors in each and every one of those towns, which was real handy. He had a personal relationship with the mayors. I'll throw in a little note here. When he had his change of command ceremony when he was leaving, there were 6 mayors at that, which I thought's pretty. I felt like what a good job of making people realize that this is not us and this is not you. We're a community. Worked out real good for Andover. When the tornado hit, the colonel called up the mayor of Andover, Ronnie, and said, "What can we do to help you?" And he said, "Man, we need temporary storage space is what we need. People need to be able to put their stuff someplace." The base was able to come up with some storage space. Their legal team asked him, "So what do you want me to do here?" And I said, "Well, give him a lease." And he said, "Well, how long?" He says, "Let's make it 99 years. Now, nobody ever planned that they keep stuff, and I'm sure they don't even have it there today. But the message here is we're here forever, how long it takes. And I thought that was really a substantial thing to say to a community that just got hammered. So with all that said, the reason I'm here is to talk to you about joining Friends of McConnell. I'm asking for money, so let's just get that out of the way. Let me tell you a little bit about Friends of McConnell and the Golden Eagles. After I got done being mayor, I was asked to be a Golden Eagle after telling everybody what a great place they have. And basically what Golden Eagles are, we are a group of 12 people. There's actually 14 Golden Eagles. 2 of them have passed, and we have 12. I'm actually number 12. But with that said, what we do is we work with the communities to provide community support for the McConnell Air Force Base. And our fundraising wing of that is Friends of McConnell. And so basically what it comes down to is the Golden Eagles, we get requests from the Air Base departments, and these are all tied to family and friends. This is not the operations of the Air Force. They take care of all that. This is all that little stuff that falls through the cracks. And I'll give you some examples of what we provide. We provide financial support directly to the airmen and their families. We provide for family events. We help out with kids programs. We provide family of deploying airmen however we can. This includes all kinds of opportunities for the spouses because they're part of the team. In fact, they may have the harder end of that deal, to be quite honest with you. Everything from big things like lunches and bringing in speakers and different things to little things like we support having the deployed parents' picture put on pillows. So when the kids go to bed at night, they sleep with their parents, which is a really good thing. How we do that is we ask people to contribute to Friends of McConnell. I am a member of Friends of McConnell. I'm an individual member. Several cities have became platinum members of Friends of McConnell, and that's a $5,000 yearly donation. And I have sat in your seat. I have had people ask me for money. I was talking to the mayor of Wichita about becoming Friends of McConnell. And I told her, Lily, if you have something better in your $500 million budget that you spend $5,000 on than supporting our airbase, you go do that. because I think it's an extremely small amount of money for what it contributes to our Air Force Base. The truth is, our Air Force Base could fly away. We are blessed to be one of the original home for the KC-46 tankers. We are a tanker base. We still have the old KC-135s. We're going to end up with 3 wings, which I believe is I think it's 36 planes. As you can imagine, our Air Force Base is extremely busy right now. But I am so happy to see over the years we were able to keep McConnell Air Force Base. Truth is, it was easy when we had Bob Dole. And when we lost Bob Dole, we lost some political power, but we were able to, they recognized the value of McConnell Air Force Base. And let me clear something up. When I say McConnell Air Force Base, for those of you not familiar with the base, there is 3 pieces. It's the 22nd, which is the active Air Force. It is the reserves, which I call the weekend guys that come in once a month, but they can become active if needed. And then it's the Kansas Air National Guard. And each one of these are right there within the fences of McConnell Air Force Base. And we provide the Golden Eagles and the Friends of McConnell supply support to all 3 of those organizations. So tonight, I am here for you to consider joining the Friends of McConnell. I was one time asked by a friend, what's in it for me? And I didn't have a quick answer, but I thought about that for a while, and I hadn't got back to him, but I need to. And you get to help the airmen and their families. That's what it's about. I was sitting at the podium one day when Victor from Channel 8 came. He probably comes here once a year, I'm guessing, and requests money from you. I think we were getting him $5,000 at the time. He mentioned to us that Valley Center gave him $10,000 this year. And one of my council members made a motion that we give $10,001. Well, I thought that was a little silly, but we ended up having a motion and it passed for $10,001. And 2 days later, I got a call from Channel 8 and they invited me out to do a one-on-one with Victor, which was somewhat challenging, but really opportunity for me to talk about Derby. And so I walked away from that thinking, you know what? That was a pretty good deal. We donate to Channel 8 and we get to brag on our city. And so that was a good deal. So I would encourage you to consider this however you want to. I know that we're probably I'm assuming we're in some type of presentation mode. And during these, you probably don't make motions, but I'll let you guys handle business however you want to. I just thank you for your time. I love McConnell and I don't hide that. So with that said, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Mr.
Mr. White is fine.
White? I wanted to call you Randy, and I said, no, that's not right. Mr. White.
Okay. I do have one thing. I'll hand it here to your city manager. We do have a air show coming up this year. We have moved it. If you remember we have air shows every 2 years. If you can remember, they're always really hot in August. And if you also remember last August, out of nowhere came this little storm that the only place it hit was McConnell. You ought to see the paperwork that it takes when outhouses go flying across the runways and run into airplanes. It's dramatic. So they have moved it to October, hoping for cooler weather, but it's always a great time. And I'd encourage you guys to come out. And if you got a place for a poster, I will hand out a poster. Mr. Mayor, Council, if I can ever do anything for you, let me know. I'd be glad to come back. I'll talk to anybody that I need to talk to. So you're one of several cities that I'm talking with. Now, we have Andover, Derby, Mulvane. They're all on board. I skipped one. I can't remember who it is. I'm talking with John over in Park City. And of course, I'm talking to Pat over in Mays. And I love talking to you guys. So thanks for your time. Appreciate each and every one of you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. And we'll consider it. I mean, you are right. We are in the presentation mode here, not motion. So we do have, just as a side note, many airmen and people who actually work at McConnell who live in the city of Bel Aire. So this is not something that's outside of city of Bel Aire, even though we are on the north end of the county and they tend to be, McConnell's more on the south end. So very good. Thank you. So our next presentation will be from Mr. Kent Kohler, who will give us an update on the steering committee for Sedgwick County Fire District 1. Mr. Kohler.
You have my slides or? Oh, that's okay. This one's going. Okay. There you go.
There we are.
Good evening. Again, I'm Kent Kaler. I'm your representative on the Fire District Steering Council. I thought I'd first kind of tell you just a bit about me because this is the first time I've talked to you since I was appointed or recommended by this group and then appointed. My wife and I have lived here over 36 years. I've previously served on the rec committee a long time ago. I was officially appointed by the fire board on the 21st of January. And then I was elected to vice chair of the steering council at our last meeting. The picture you see there was I did a ride along on April 28th, spent about 12 hours with the crew over here at 37s. We didn't get pics of when I was in full gear, working my way through obstacle courses and learning a heck of a lot more about what they do. I did that because I wanted to gain a better understanding and get to know some of them one-on-one and chose our station. What I learned is the gear they wear is about 80 pounds. Many eons ago, I was a volunteer firefighter, but the gear seems to be either a lot heavier or I'm not quite as strong. I think it's a combination of both. And I can tell you, I sucked in a lot of air going through an obstacle course while being on air. But I was amazed how the firefighters were. They had a new firefighter that was teaching me. He had been on a little over a year. So they let him teach me how to do stuff so he could learn. It looks easy to handle fire hoses when you see videos of see what they do. I will tell you, and that is the 2.5-inch line. It's fully charged. I did handle it for a little bit myself, and I tell you, it was all I could do. The smaller one I could handle some, but great teamwork. And what I saw from the folks at the station that day was amazing, how they worked with each other. And this was being done because the new firefighter had just been through an engineer class, and they were working with him so he could get better at getting water from the hydrant to the engine to us. I thought I knew a lot of what they did, or a decent amount, but due to my background, well, I was wrong. I learned a lot more that day, but we are truly blessed, and the atmosphere and the way they worked with each other, very amazing. Some recent happenings in the fire district itself. You may not be aware, there is a new training facility has started. The design is in progress. The funding was there, or now that the district is moving forward with it. It's down behind Station 36, down on 5500 South Oliver. And I'm sure you are aware of the actions that were taken regarding the Idaho 8 agreements with the volunteer departments and small fire departments throughout the county. By fire board, as most of us know them as a BOCC. That originally had been a recommendation from the steering council that action be taken. That happened before I joined, but it needed to be done, in my opinion. And then my last point says strategic plan created. I realized that should have been updated, but the district worked through the Public Policy and Management Center to update their strategic plan. Evidently, it had not been done for a while. And I think some of you were interviewed as part of that. Ted, were you or Mayor? I don't recall. I know some of the city leaders at the different cities were indeed part of that process. We as the steering council were part of that also. We were included, gave some of our feedback. So we'll see. I don't know that they've released it yet, and I don't even know the version that I've seen yet was the final or if it's still in draft. But it is, they did get it, and most of the work has been done. What's next? Well, what's coming up next are the updated aid agreements. I know there was a news story from yesterday or this morning of a recent meeting in Mount Hope. There's been recent meetings with most of the other departments. I think my guess is there will be aid agreements of some type. We'll see exactly what they look like. As a follow-up from the strategic plan, new key performance indicators for the district. That's the next step. They've kind of laid out what their strategic plan is. Then what will they be measuring and how will they be grading themselves is what's next, is the next step in that. And then, of course, same thing we have here, 2027 budget to get finalized.
Yep.
Always fun, right?
Sure.
lots of requests and try to figure out what's next. But those are the key things coming up in the district. So since this is my first time here, I'm curious what other info you would like to see. What do you want to know? What can I do to represent you all?
So thank you for your presentation. One of the things that pops up to my mind is renegotiating these aid agreements, because I think in some cases they actually just want to take over fire services for some of these communities that currently have an aid agreement, but they have part-time firefighters and they aren't always able to respond as needed for appropriate fire protection. How do they anticipate that these agreements will be updated before the 2027 budget is put in place so that they will become part of the budget process?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a good timeline, and that's kind of been a point of discussion. I would expect the agreements hopefully to be done by the end of the 90 days that was given on May 7th or 8th. I don't remember what the date was. So those were 90 days. I did see some information today from the one county commissioner saying they may do some type of kind of like bridge agreement that Commissioner Wise, I believe that's who made that comment in regards at a Mount Hope meeting. But yeah, that does become an issue with budgets have to be finalized. All that has to be done. I don't know.
Okay.
That's the current. I mean, I think we're going to get agreements of one type or another.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to have to
Sure
be
of
something
that.
done.
All right.
But again, it's just choices. We can't have our people getting hurt.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns for Mr. Kohler? If there are
I was
none-
just going to say, I appreciate the slide deck. That's helpful. Thanks
Oh.
for the time you put into that.
Oh, you're welcome. Mike, did I see you were starting to ask a question?
Yeah, I was a bit curious about the recent round of funding, and this is more county level, so maybe
That's okay.
it's-
I might be able to. My background, anyway, I spent many years at the county too, long before I'd been around this world for a little bit.
I'm just kind of curious on the progress on remediating the firehouses that need some work.
Well, that's a city of Wichita that has that problem, that has challenges with their stations. We do have one older station right
This
down
one,
here.
Bel Aire.
Yeah. With everything that's happening with the aid agreements, there might be, it kind of depends what's going to fall into place. And I know there's been discussion with the city of Bel Aire, with the district about location for a department or whatever. Yeah, I did ask that question when I was hanging out at the station. I mean, this is an old station.
Mhm.
They've taken care of it, but it's 50 some years old. It needs some help. It doesn't meet current standards, the newer standards. But the firefighters I spoke with, they were so excited about the new training facility coming, like, yeah, we can live in an old station for a couple more years or so. If we can get a good training facility that we can get access to when we need it, don't have to drive to Hutch, Newton, wherever, or use Wichita's, whatever. If we have one that we can use regularly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I asked that same question. I had that very same concern. If we're hearing it from the city of Wichita, do we have that problem? And no, we don't. We don't have the lack of, let me think about how to say it. We don't have the built up maintenance challenges that they had.
Okay.
I think that's the nicest way to put that.
Right. One of the thing, and you probably know this, but our station here in Bel Aire is the primary training station currently until they get this new
Right, it
training
is.
facility up.
It
and
is.
running.
And so
Yeah.
there's some old offices and stuff in the basement that are used, like where I was crawling through this tube with all the gear on, and
It's all down there. Right.
yeah. They were nice. They didn't turn the lights out on me, and they didn't run sirens, so I could actually hear and listen. But ever have the opportunity, just reach out to the department. It was eye opening. Again, thank you. But
Right.
look for more. And what I'll plan to do is have more information on the KPIs when that's done, because hopefully the next time I come back, we'll have information and can get more in to talk to you about what the performance really looks like. Not just what we did, but how we did. And again,
Yeah.
I use the word we because I'm on the council, and so I'm part of them, the way I see it. serving on that steering council. Well, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. Appreciate your service to the fire community. And next, we have Mr. Ken Lee with Garver Engineering to tell us about 45th Street and 53rd Street sidewalk updates. Mr. Lee.
Well, good evening, council. Thank you for having me. I'm Ken Lee with Garver, 1995 Midfield Road. I have to apologize. I've been fighting allergies here this last few weeks. Well, my voice is a little ragged, but we'll fight through it. I'm here to talk about 45th, give you guys an update. Ted asked me to kind of give you an idea where things are at. And we turned in office check in February, which was before the last meeting. We did get plans back from KDOT, and they did ask us to turn in a second office check, and we're working on finishing those up. Those are going to be in the next couple of weeks. One thing that we did do as part of the project, since we were going through the plans again, we did have our KDOT roadway team in our office go through the plans through and have them give a pretty thorough beating. So it's not just our internal review from our group. We had an external review from a different group. And I just kind of wanted to talk about what that's going to do to the schedule. So again, we're planning on turning in plans again before the end of the month. The original WAMPO tentative bid date that was shown on the RUPA schedule was February 17th of 2024. With the fact that we're doing this second check, we're going to lose a few weeks, and we're probably going to end up being in March of 27. So we're going to lose about a month. We are working with our roadway team and such to try and minimize any delays. And what that does is if there's any good news, and I don't know if I'd call this good news or not, but with what's going on in other parts of the city, we'll still have plenty of time. But I talked with Ann, and it's important to her that we get this out as early as possible next year, regardless of any other schedules. The main reason is it will be good if we can get this bid early next year and be able to tell the contractors, hey, you have 4 or 5 months or longer to get this on your schedule, with the hope that'll give you better bid prices. So that's going to be one of the goals out of this, is we still want to, regardless of anything else going on, we still want this done as quickly as possible. So we can be able to tell the contractors, hey, you don't have to have this scheduled for 60 days from now. You've got months from now. So that's the one thing on that. But jumping on, talking about more things that have been going on, Ann and I met last week with property owners who live in Bel Aire Heights that are adjacent to the wall out there. That's the one that we made the agreement with them that we would allow the wall to stay as long as they get insurance to cover the wall, and they sign a hold harmless agreement with the city of Bel Aire. They were just concerned about our design and how it was going to impact their drainage and privacy. And their biggest concern is they didn't want us to build the street up to the point where it was going to block the drainage in their yards or make it easier for people to peer into their backyards. And we took a look at it, and we're going to be matching the grades out there. And the thing we talked about doing is going ahead as part of this project is to incorporate a couple extra drains through the walls to make sure we get the water through there effectively. And then Ann and I talked about what we're going to do with drainage, and where we're expecting more significant flow, we're going to implement a trench drain over the top of in the sidewalk area to let the water go under the sidewalk rather than over the sidewalk. So we've used that on a couple of the City of Wichita arterial projects, and what they are is they're called jowl tread, and they're a steel plate that's got like little deformations on the top of it so they're not slippery. But it'll let the water go underneath the sidewalk rather than through it. We don't have enough grade there to run storm sewer, and we don't have room, frankly, to run storm sewer behind it. But this will get it where we don't have to worry about slippery conditions on the walk where those drain pipes are at. So we had that meeting, and they were very happy with the discussions. We're still working with Ann on land acquisition. We do have track maps done for all the areas that are proposed for acquisition. Based on some feedback we got, we made a couple minor adjustments. And I know Ann has an RFQ out for getting the property acquisition specialist lined up for cost evaluation and negotiations. And that's important because we have about 5 or 6 months to get the right of way purchased at this point. So we still have plenty of time, but that is one of the things that's coming up, is that has to be done by the end of the year. One other thing that's come up is when we're reviewing the plans and talking about relocations with Ann and going through where we were talking about the spot relocations, we started doing an honest evaluation, and the line is old enough and it's in conflict with the road enough that the decision has been made to look at doing a relocation on the whole route, and that'll move it clearer in the future, and that'll make this line where it'll last another 60 years without any issues. But there's parts of the line that are older. Some of it is older pipe styles, so it'll be getting rid of ductile iron pipe and putting in PVC pipe, and so that's something that we're working on putting some costs together. So you'll see that in the not too distant future. And what that'll do too is it allow us, where we have conflicts with storm sewer, just taking care of that all in one fell swoop as one relocation rather than doing it in spots. So it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. Construction phasing on the project. One of the bigger changes we've made on the plans based on the feedback we got from the office check in our roadway review is because there's not that many driveways that abut this roadway for major stretches of it, we're actually going to recommend a full shutdown rather than trying to carry one lane through. And what that'll do is it'll allow the construction to finish much more quickly. And so what we're doing here on this is, and that's not going to work, but what we're going to do is we're not going to start out with the roundabout. We're actually going to start with that western leg between Glendale and Edgemore, and we're going to rebuild the roadway first. The homes that are on the north side there, our proposal would be that there'll be a temporary gravel drive that will get them over to Oliver while the work is being done there. And then we'll end up working in that frontage road at the same time when that phase is shut down. But primarily we're going to do the main road first there, and that'll get us the full road in there. Everybody, Glendale, Westlake, Edgemore, Kruger, everybody there has access out of the area outside of this. So it'll be a minimal impact for the folks there on this phase. Once we get that done, and of course, contractors always make up their own minds on their scheduling. So ours is just a suggestion. I got to say that out loud. Our plan is to rebuild the north half roundabout first, and we're going to do it half at a time. Roundabouts are a little trickier than other intersections and trying to carry somebody through quadrants at a time just because of the nature of the way they're built. So we're going to do the north half of it and carry traffic on the south half. And this will be when the rest of the road is open. So people will be able to move freely outside of the intersection. People will be able to move freely through there. We will maintain one lane through the intersection when it's being built on that half. The green side, the south side, when that's done, since it's a 2-lane roundabout, hypothetically, we could take 2 lanes of traffic through that north half when we get to that part of the work. So we'll have to talk with city staff as far as that goes. Going through a curve that close, will it feel comfortable? We'll have to decide on that, and whether or not we'll do 1 lane there. But the whole goal there is to get that work done as quickly as possible, and then also make it where it's constructible. Looking at the east half of the project, once we do the work, and I should note the phase ends in the middle of Sunrise Middle School or Sunrise Academy. And the whole goal for that is we want to make sure they have one entrance that's open during construction so they can get in and out of the facility through the other entrance. So that's why we picked the break we did. This phase here would go all the way to Hillcrest, and we would replace all of that in one fell swoop. And in this instance, we just have one homeowner that will have to work with the contractor to be able to get them through construction, would be just the one homeowner. And fortunately, they're fairly close to Dundee, so it'll be one of those things that they'll just have to work around them when they're doing their work. The eastern part, that last little piece, we do have houses on the north side that front onto it. We have multiple houses. We don't have a good way to carry those by, so that'll be staged construction where we do half at a time, most likely on that part. But the whole goal of this change is to make it faster for construction, where the contractor isn't having to do part at a time. They don't have to have storm sewers where they're doing one side of the road and then doing the other half of the road later. They can just jackhammer the improvements as they're doing them. Going on to talk about the 53rd Street sidewalk. I know there's a lot of dissatisfaction with how fast this is getting built. and that may be understating the situation here. But the pre-con was held on February 5th. The tentative start date was March 2nd. However, when it came down to when we got in the field, there was a miscommunication between us and the gas company, and we thought our coordination was complete. And there was one storm sewer pipe in particular that they had not seen the updated plans on. And so there was going to be a delay on that. So it ended up, we reworked the plans, and Prado was supposed to start in mid-April. We ended up making the decision at that time, talking with city staff, that since this money was coming out of the city's pockets anyway, let's move it to the maintenance project, the 2026 street maintenance project, since that work doesn't have to be tied together. So that decision was made then. Prado did get started in mid-April. And one of the complications that came up is when we design sidewalks in the Wichita metro area, it's very common for us to do sidewalks directly adjacent to 10-foot multi-use paths. We do it all the time. I've done, I don't know, I'd say hundreds of poles that are that close, but it's a lot. But technically, according to NACDO guidance, they recommend 2 feet of clearance. And Sedgwick County pointed out that NACDO recommends 2 feet of clearance. So we did have a meeting with Sedgwick County, the city of Bel Aire, Prado, and KDOT to talk about what's the best way to handle this to provide that clearance. And it is important that it's guidance. It's not a regulation, it's guidance. But we met with them, we looked at it, and unfortunately, when we started this project, there was no Evergy poles out there. And when I say we started the 53rd Street project, when we started that, we had 6-foot sidewalk on that south side when we very first started. Evergy went and plopped in their pole line in the way of our 10-foot path as far as where we would like to have had it. It would have been nice for those poles to be further north to give us more clearance. And they were clear enough for us to do 10 foot if we were directly adjacent to them. But given that it was decided that the NACDO guidance of providing some clearance was a good idea, we ended up meeting with those entities in the field and kind of just walked the whole half mile that was already pre-graded and measured every single power pole and put in flats and lath saying this is where we're going to be to kind of field adjust it, because the NACDO guidelines also allow you to taper to 8-foot minimum in spots where you have narrow clearances. So we were able to get every spot worked out and get that. We had that flagged out, and Prado's actually, it's been a process, and I don't know all the nuances. I'm not involved in the actual observation side. Sedgwick County's doing that. It's been a whole process getting there, but they have started pouring concrete finally. But we did have those meetings. Another part of the process that came up was in dealing with the pipeline is we revisited the design of the sidewalk there at Woodlawn, and part of that was tied into the 2026 roadway improvements that were not part of the plans when we started this project. And that involves some widening, particularly at that southeast corner. If you've driven through there before the improvements are done, cars are driving off that edge all the time. So part of this was widening the road, which changes the configuration a little bit. And in doing that, we visited with Ann, and we've realigned the walk. We've added a little bit more storm sewer to provide a better environment for bikers there. Because there was, as the original design, it was going to be, you had to turn a tight corner and turn a tight corner. And you can see now, I know it doesn't show up great, but it's more of a gradual one turn and then you're onto the sidewalk rather than 2 turns. So it's going to be a more natural ride for the bicyclist. So the revision that we made based on the 2026 bicycle maintenance project is actually going to result in a nicer project at the end of the day. The redesign is going to end up being nicer. And then Ann just wanted to make sure that we had 4-to-1 minimum slopes away from everything. So we did extend the pipes a little bit longer just to make sure. In most instances, we have 6-to-1 slope, but we want to make sure we're plenty long so we don't have any uncomfortable situations. And then the final change that we came up with on our last walkthrough is Baughman is in the process. They designed this Chapel Landing 7th, and it's under construction. And we had coordinated with them, provided them plans, and they were designing their driveways to work with our project, with our sidewalk and all that. But they had a pipe sticking out of that reserve that was pointing towards the street. And before this project was done, that was just a field where it was just sheet drainage, where it wasn't going to be a big deal. But now we're creating point drainage. So the one discussion we had is with KDOT, Sedgwick County, and Prado was they're building a berm out there. Why not put the sidewalk on top of that berm? It'll make for a nicer experience for the bikers because, they're going to have this really nice pond beside them. They're not going to be at the bottom of the berm where water's running across it. And the language of the reserve was already set up where it allows sidewalks. So we didn't have to go through any we didn't have to go through any negotiation about right of ways or easements or anything like that. It's allowed by right with the way it was platted. So that's the one most recent change we're making. And it's just a small realignment. There's no extra, there's not a bunch of extra concrete. There'll be KDOT does measured quantities anyway, but it'll be a very small change to realign that, and it'll eliminate that water running across the path. So with that, that's kind of a quick run through on where things are at. I'll just take there is one other thing I need to talk about. Maria asked me to talk about the encroachment agreement with the gas pipeline company. We have the agreements. They're in place. They're ready for signature. And she had some concerns because if you've never read through a gas pipeline agreement before, they're very onerous, and they try and put a lot of responsibility onto the city. And one of those is if any damage occurs to the pipeline, or if they have to lower the pipeline based on our work, the city gets to pay for that. And in this instance, it would be hundreds of thousands of dollars if they had to do relocations. So she had right to be concerned about it. But the one thing I will tell you is I'm not really concerned about, I think you can rest easy that we're not going to have anything that causes a concern. It doesn't show up very well, but on that bottom right corner where the red box is at, that's our profile where we're crossing that gas main. And that gas main is 6 and 7 feet deep in that area. The minimum cover is 4 feet. So you have 2 to 3 feet more clearance than is required. And when we're building that line, we're actually just laying that storm sewer pipe right in the existing ditch and burying it. So we're not doing any excavation. So the city's risk on this is very low. I don't think you need to be concerned about any damages occurring or any need to relocate their line based on what they're doing. It's boilerplate language that they include, and you're pretty low risk. Everything we're doing is right at ground level. We're not going down and digging deep. And like I said, these mains as they go across the street are very deep. So if you have any other questions about that, I can address that. But it is boilerplate language, and we're not doing anything that's going to put those pipelines in harm's way. So with that, I'll take any questions you have.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. So a couple things that have come to mind, and then I actually want to know what the city council members think as well. But as you know, this project is like 2 years behind what it should have been schedule wise. And so we need to get this done. School starts August 13th, and I'm hoping we have every T crossed and every I dotted and get that done before August 13th.
I have given updated quantities to KDOT, and we went through, and there were some questions that came up. So I provided a color-coded spreadsheet to KDOT last week saying, these are items that are unchanged. These are items that are modified, and these are new items to make sure there's clarity on what's going on. And Prado's new schedule is saying they're going to be done in time.
Yeah, I understand the uncertainty of that issue, but I think we need to drive that as hard as we can.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we need students to be able to utilize this when school starts. The other thing is that these encroachment agreements, and I know it's should be SOP, but we need to make certain that our bid packages have these included in them, and that the contractors understand their responsibility for these things, because there's a lot of things there that the contractors are in control of that we need to make sure they're signed up for, and making sure they don't violate the encroachment agreement, right?
No, I agree. And I know, like, for 45th, Southern Star is going to be a major, there's an encroachment agreement we'll have to have put in place on that. And that will definitely be done long before that thing goes out to bid. I don't want to repeat of this. So
yeah. So we have 2 encroachment agreements we're going to consider tonight that
Yeah.
need to be in the RFP for this work on this sidewalk.
And yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or concerns other council members have?
Ken, have you read a lot of encroachment agreements like this before? Are you fairly
Yeah,
familiar
I
with
mean,
them.
we've dealt with them, and it's frustrating. Yeah, the thing that's really frustrating about the pipeline companies is, and I mean this in the best possible way, but their arrogance is really astounding. I did a project in Goddard where it was an existing property. There was existing pipelines running across it, and those existing pipelines were about 2.5 feet deep. They required our contractor to bring in fill across the entire site and put in their 4 foot of required fill, even though we weren't doing work in 75% of that area. They forced, if we wanted to get the encroachment agreement, we had to regrade everything outside of it to get it to grade. So they just always have onerous things like that. They can be good to work with though too. I mean, honestly, I mean, for all the fact that the boilerplate language is onerous, John Amrine and Robert McKenzie and those folks that we've been working with, they're actually really good people to work with, but they do have their policies and rules that they have to follow.
Yeah, just the language seems very concerning to me because it opens us up to a lot of risk, it feels like.
Well, and there is, I mean, certainly if things go wrong, there is risk. Like I said, the good news on this instance, like the one side where we're crossing it, we literally are laying the pipe right on the ground and then burying it. We're not excavating. We're not doing any removal. So we're not doing anything that's going to disturb those pipelines is the good news.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I just had a couple of questions while we're on the encroachment thing.
Okay.
Beyond just an issue happening where you damage it or the contractor damages, it talks about if there's ever an issue where they're going to have to tear up your walking path, you're responsible for all of that down the road. How often do you see that, you know, something happens and you got to tear the path out and the city's responsible for that?
It's incredibly unusual just because those lines are large enough. They're incredibly expensive to work on. And they know that, yeah, they can hold you responsible for the little bit there, but once you get outside the work area, they're responsible for that. So they're not going to be just doing it just to do it. It is significant expense. And so of course, you know, find some wood to knock on, but I've been doing this for 30 years and I've never had one where they've came back and had to do a relocation. So.
Okay, thank you. On 45th Street, we had issues in Aurora Park with utilities, and we've had these encroachments coming up later in the project. On 45th Street, what's being done to make sure all the boxes are checked and making sure everything's in place so things like that don't happen again?
We've been having a lot more in-person meetings with the individual utility companies. We've had multiple ULCC meetings with them where we get them together in a room and do more of that than we did on Aurora Park. And we undoubtedly should have done more there, but no, we're having a lot more meetings. And then, like I said, we're looking at stuff like just going more in depth, looking at the water main. And is it one of those things? Can we do stuff like that just clears routes for other people to do things? We're just in general, more coordination.
Okay, good. And last question, this came up in February as some residents were concerned and had questions about why was the path on 45th Street put on the north instead of the south. That's come up again from somebody else. If you could just reiterate why that was chosen and also what you guys are doing to make sure sight lines and all that are being accounted for.
So sightlines are always a concern, and that was brought up in KDOT's review on the office check was a concern at Kruger about sightlines, and we'll have to make sure that trees are cut back adequately to get that done. But putting it on the north side, it accomplishes a couple things. One, and I know that I saw an email in particular where somebody was like, I don't care if it costs Evergy $500,000 to relocate the pole line. I think it should be over there. But it does eliminate an unnecessary cost that, you know, all of us as citizens of our community, if somebody's spending money, somebody's got to pay for it. It's never free. So if we can avoid spending unnecessary money, we want to look at that. But also by putting it on the north side, you know, the path is there right by Sunrise for the students that are coming in and off the path. They would be on that bike path there. And just along that route, we do have it where it's adjacent to the one frontage road, but it gives us more room in general along the project to be on the north side in most of the areas. You know, if it was so willed by the governing body, hey, we want it moved to the south side, we could certainly do that. But I think it would be a waste of resources to do that. And again, the one thing about it is no matter where you put the sidewalk, there's going to be somebody unhappy with the choice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
On that note, there will be a 6-foot sidewalk on the south side of 45th.
Correct.
So if kids are riding their bikes and don't wish to cross the street, that 6-foot sidewalk will still be there.
Yeah,
for that
there'll
purpose.
be a concrete sidewalk or multi-use path on both sides. So even if somebody chose to ride on the other side, it will be there. And a 6-foot sidewalk really, honestly, for the most part, is very wide for somebody to ride a bike on if they need to. I mean, obviously the 10-foot multi-use paths are better because you can cross paths easier and it's less constrictive. But yeah, it'll be on both sides.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for Mr. Lee? Well, appreciate the input and the update, and look forward to seeing this 53rd Street project done by August 13th.
I want to ride my bike on it. So
Yeah. I'd like you to as well. So,
okay. Well,
although
thank
you're
you.
not going to school at ISA, right?
No, but I ride by there quite a bit. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. All right, next on the agenda is citizens' concerns, and we do allow all citizens to speak for 3 minutes that would like to. I have not received any cards from anybody. Are there any citizens who would like to speak to the council? And if there are none, we'll move on to council member reports. So we can start with Mr. David.
No report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Mr. Proctor.
Just attended the Bel Aire Chamber Social, and
Okay.
the attitude of all attendees, I didn't check with you. You left before I got there.
Yeah, I know.
Seemed to
you were there.
seemed to be pretty encouraged that the chamber can refocus in on building the chamber up and really focus on the core issues rather than run events.
Good. That's great to hear. Thank you. Mr. McIntosh.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really quick, June 4th, attended the CCUA/KDHE/EPA meeting about trying to figure out if we can reuse that water from the reclamation project. We're going to reconvene again. Everybody wants to do it. Just have to figure out how to skin the cat of the regulations and do it in a safe way. So hopefully have some more information when everybody gets back together, hopefully before our next meeting in 3 weeks. And again, just reiterate, that is Mayor who's really pushed for that. So appreciate that. Later that day, attended the KDOT open house. We have a future issue item on it, but they've eliminated rock. And so Webb and Greenwich are potential interchanges. Webb is significantly more expensive, but we'll have more discussion about that later this evening. And the public comment is open online for a few more days if you want to contribute to that. And I just thought I'd mention, a resident asked when gas gets really expensive and with the new transit center downtown, if bus service would ever come to Bel Aire. And I vaguely remember that conversation from a few years ago. There would be pros and there would be some imported cons that would probably come with that. But Ted refreshed my memory. WAMPO did a feasibility study, and that's not affordable or on the table at that point. So just thought I'd mention that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So just related to that, because I was also at this K254 KDOT public meeting. And so they've made some great recommendations, and we need to finalize, and they still need to finalize issues on frontage roads and package roads. And I worked with Keachai Mayor Joni Harris and drafted a letter to the project team. And that draft letter we will discuss later in the meeting. I also attended the ribbon cutting at Walk Your Plans here in Bel Aire. This facility is 3,000 square foot that is available for various events. So if anybody needs a 3,000 square foot area for an event, there's your place. The area is for them, primarily is for them to project construction plans so that one has a better feel about how those plans flow and work. On June 9th, I attended the monthly WAMPO meeting, and in relationship to what Ms. Hamburg just talked about, we did have a presentation on the Wichita Transit system, the bus system. And it's interesting because one of the things I learned in that meeting is that they have a bus that's dedicated to Oliver. It goes all the way down Oliver one way and turn around and comes all the way back the other way. And it just makes that loop day in and day out. I've never ventured this with anybody. I've never talked to the city manager or anybody else, but maybe there's a possibility that could be extended. I know we talked years ago about expanding Wichita Transit into Bel Aire, and it was like $300,000-$400,000 a year. So that was a pretty high price tag, and we couldn't really afford it at that time. But maybe it's time that we could revisit that. I don't know if that. I'm just more thinking out loud right now than making any proposals. So. We heard a presentation at the WAMPO meeting from Derby, much about the projects within Derby, and lots going on there. Also a presentation by the Regional Transportation Committee. And I did ask that we have someone on Bel Aire on that committee. So I think that Mr. Henry has appointed somebody to do that, just so that we know what's going on there. I don't know that there will be anything that comes out of that, but it is a possibility that we could see something. And lastly, we had a presentation for Wichita Housing Department, and that department does a lot of work to support low-income housing, including homeless. They've been selling off a lot of unused federal housing inventory. Many of these houses need major repairs to be habitable. And the presentation shows the Wichita, including a lot of federal and county money, has spent some $14 million on homelessness in the past couple of years. $5 million annual operating budget for the Second Light shelter runs out on September 30th, and the city and Second Light are looking for other sources of funds to fill that gap for operations. Then on June 10th, I attended the League of Kansas Municipalities City Forum at WSU, and we discussed issues with the legislature, especially the right development. League of Kansas Municipalities has drafted a 3-page memo with guidance on how to handle this new law. And we also discussed a property tax issue and concerns related to this. I did send an email to Mr. Spencer Duncan, who's also the mayor of Topeka, on some thoughts that on this, and asked to be included in any discussions regarding property tax issues from Topeka. So other than that, I will now ask our city attorney for her report.
Thank you, Mayor Benaj. As you know, as the council know, that I assist staff and advisory boards, our volunteer members, with compliance regarding the Kansas Open Meetings Act. That involves trainings and answering questions in person in meetings via email. If there's ever a time that an advisory board is struggling with compliance with the Kansas Open Meetings Act or needs a little more assistance, I start attending those meetings regularly. Just to keep the council updated, I'm currently attending the tree board meetings regularly now. I attended last month, the month before, and I'll be attending this month as well to help provide any type of legal guidance, answer questions about notice requirements, the meeting, even explaining meeting procedures, discussing about record keeping, answering questions to make improvements. In addition to myself, other city staff have been very helpful in attending the tree board meetings to try to be as assistants as well. And if, especially our city manager, everyone doing a team effort to try to provide our advisory boards with all the support that they need so that they can be successful. I'm looking forward to meeting with them this month, and they're also considering updating their bylaws. So that's very helpful. In addition to those meetings, the Bel Aire Heights even had a representative here tonight. They're a very, very friendly group. Bel Aire Heights came tonight because of the update given by Ken Lee. They happen to have a wall, a perimeter wall, a very nice concrete perimeter wall, which is located on some city property, which will be affected by the work that they were that Ken Lee discussed tonight. They are in discussions with talking about whether or not to keep the wall, whether not to keep the wall, and if they do keep the wall, whether or not to have it insured and pursue a right-of-way permit with the city. They are asking really good questions, and I'm really thankful they came tonight. They have a meeting this Thursday. If I learn anything new, of course, I will update the council. Thank you.
Good, thank you. So we'll move on to city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to be quick tonight. I know we want to get to other things. Real quick, we are started our 2026 street maintenance program. If anybody's tuning in, we've been doing about $1 million worth of street improvements for the last 5 years, and we've touched probably 65% now of all our streets in Bel Aire. So a big accomplishment. But this particular year, we're touching the two major ones. Woodlawn between 45th and 53rd, and Rock between 45th and 53rd. Also some neighborhood streets. Nick's going to do a good job, but this hit my inbox about 4 o'clock today, so I wanted to update the council. On Friday, this Friday, Kansas Paving will be on Farmstead Court, Farmstead, and then Parrington Street to finish the paving along those roads. They milled them last week. You might have noticed they did some edge milling on Woodlawn and Rock last week. On Monday, June 22nd, Kansas Paving will start paving the drive entrances along Woodlawn from 45th to 53rd, and on Tuesday from 53rd to 45th using a flagman and possibly a pilot card to help traffic go through that. Now on Wednesday, June 24th, they'll start paving the main line on Woodlawn between 45th and 53rd, and Thursday, June 25th, for going back down the street. On Wednesday and Thursday, they'll have Woodlawn a one-lane street. They'll have proper signage, but this allows them to mill and then pave as quickly as possible to disturb less as we can. So again, Nick will update. Our communications director will blast all their plans as early as we possibly can and notify the citizens. But that's some update on our 2026 street maintenance program. I think a few people mentioned the public's comment period is still open on the website, KDOT's website, for our Greenwich Webb and Rock interchange discussion we're having. Art, there's a memorial tree dedication June 27th at Denise Park at 11 a.m. I ask everybody to do that for Art. And then last but not least, on July 11th, we will have a celebration of America's 250th birthday, as well as a national night out event here at City Hall. It should be a good time. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. On with better things.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that information. So next item, we need to move down to item 12A, executive session, and we need to ask for 20 minutes of executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
I motion to recess into executive session to discuss with legal counsel and receive legal advice related to pending litigation. The discussion will be pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2 for legal consultation with Neil Gosh, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. Invite Neil Gosh, Catherine Klumsky, City Manager, City Attorney, and City Engineer. The meeting will be for a period of 20 minutes, and the open meeting will resume in City Council chambers at 8:23 p.m.
Second.
A motion by Mr. McIntosh, a second by Mr. Proctor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with executive session for 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to call the meeting back to order. We held an executive session and no binding actions were taken. The next item is item 9A. It's a change order for reconstruction of Woodlawn. So here tonight to discuss the change order is City Engineer Ann Stevens and PEC's Geotechnical Engineer Bob Henthorn. So in addition to this change order, we may also see future requests from Garver to cover additional construction engineering time. So however, that depends on whether Garver exhausts their current allotted time on their current contract. Those estimates for additional time are, alternative one is a $275,000 change order, and alternative two would be a $215,000 change order. So those are Garver's estimates, not for tonight's consideration. And this is just information so that we know the potential for additional cost if we approve this change order number 26 tonight. So Mr. Hawthorne and Ms. Stevens, if you want to come to the podium and answer questions concerning this change order proposal.
Or would you like me to give a brief synopsis of the
Yes,
options?
if you want to give us a brief synopsis of what we're talking about here so that we're all on the same page.
Sure.
you.
So as the council knows, the project on Woodlawn was halted about 2 weeks into construction because we found soft soils down in the bottom of the excavation. After meetings on site, some additional research, PEC went back and provided us with 2 options for remediating the soft soils. Their primary recommended option is removing and replacing approximately 2 feet of those existing soils with a low volume change or LVC material that would negate the effects that we're seeing now. That option is presented as alternative one. There is also a geotextile that would be installed on top of that 2 feet and then below the rock that was originally designed to go on top of that. The second alternate is a lime-treated subgrade. The contractor would bring in some lime. They would mix it in with the existing soils at a depth of 12 inches. The lime chemically changes the composition of the soils to change the water retention, and Bob can jump in as I'm not explaining this very correctly. But it does change that soils, and then the geotextile would sit on top of that as well. So you have the 2 options. I'll let Bob jump in and kind of go over the 2 a little bit more in depth and answer council's questions. But as the mayor said, there are potentially additional fees from Garver. They will not submit any change orders for additional fees until they exhaust their current amount that they have. We won't see that until anywhere near in the future. I did get approximate costs from them based on the additional working days that Pearson provided that would be added for each alternate. The mayor gave you those numbers earlier. But anyway, I'll let Bob explain any further that I did not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Mr. Hawthorne.
Yeah.
Henthorn.
Henthorn, that's correct. I'm Bob Henthorn. I'm the Vice President of Geotechnical Engineering for PEC. And we've been working with Ann and everybody trying to get a solution to make sure this roadway is as we originally planned. And so the first option is basically remove and replace. So basically we're coming back and we're removing that material out. We're compacting it back into 8-inch lifts. We're testing each 8-inch lift to make sure that it meets our criteria for our compaction requirements. We'll build that back up to our normal 2-foot grade below our pavement. We'll continue with the geotextile there and then come up with our rock base. And we'll also have our under drains installed on the side and also lateral drains that go across the roadway to collect any water that's coming in from the side or down the roadway itself. The other option is a lime treated subgrade. Basically we come in, we scarify that top 12 inches with a very large disc. We spread lime over the top. We bring water in to hydrate that lime and we mix it. Just kind of like a rototiller or another big disc. If they have enough room, they can bring in a machine called a BOMAG, and it's just a very, very large, powerful rototiller at that point. Mix that material. PEC will take samples that Garver collects. We'll take them into our lab to make sure that the lime treatment is meeting our PI requirements. Our PI requirements for the lime treated subgrade is 15 or below. The test results that we ran on the percent of lime that we're going to be installing, we had a PI of 8. So that's a good thing there. We're really modifying that soil into something that will be stable at that point. So any questions on that?
Yeah, I have a question about the lime, and I understand that typically when you do these kind of projects, you look at 5 or 6% lime, but in this case, you're talking about 8% lime. Okay. And I also understand typically projects, you look at 6 inches of the aggregate that you're going to pull out of the soil to mix with the lime. But in this case, you're looking at 12 inches.
Correct.
Okay. Can you elaborate to us what you anticipate seeing from that? Because that seems like we're going over and above what is the normal, typical process for these kind of things. And I think maybe that's wonderful, but I'd just like to understand the reasoning and what kind of testing you can do to make sure you're getting the results that you want, that we need to have out of this.
Yeah. So basically what we do is underneath a new roadway that's going in, that's going to have lime treatment. A lot of times we have 6 inches of subgrade, then we have a cement treated base. So we have an additional layer below our base rather than just an aggregate base, and then concrete on top of that. That's where we typically do the 6 inch or 4 inch lime treatment. It's an additional layer underneath a concrete pavement that stabilizes that soil at that point. The other option is remove 6 inches of that material, bring in lime, treat just 6 inches, bring that material that you took out back in, treat that. It's more expensive. It's more time consuming. And with Woodlawn, we don't have really any place for us to put that lime. So we recommended going a full 12 inches, making sure that we got a good stable base under our rock and our pavement at that point.
You said something about putting cement on top of this, but I don't understand that there's any plan to put cement on top
There's
of
not.
this. Okay.
That's typically where we use the 4 inches of lime treatment underneath a pavement section that has 4 inches of lime treatment, a cement treated subgrade, and then concrete pavement above that. We don't have that in this situation. We're going with a geotextile, a rock base, and then our pavement or asphalt pavement.
That would be more expensive, I presume.
Yes. Typically done on interstates, very, very high volume roads at that point.
Mr. Proctor.
Thanks for seeing my light, Mr. Mayor.
I didn't, but okay.
Mr. Enthorn, thanks for coming, and thanks for your work on this. I'm curious on the 12 inches of remove and replace, if we've still got high plasticity index below that, is that going to do enough good, or maybe we have to put the lime in? And maybe kind of the nature of what I'm trying to ask is there one of these options that the odds are we're not going to have to do the other one if we just do it? If we just do the lime, odds of it fixing this type of a situation is how many? Or if we just do the remove and replace, chances of having to do the lime as well might be what?
So what we've looked at is remove and replace is the first option that we have. That fixes everything, comes up to our rock base, and we go from there. The lime treatment is just a different option that you can have to where you're not removing all that material, you're not excavating all that out. You're working with the material that's right there already in place. The other good thing about lime treatment is the small little wedge of soil on the east side of the box is we can take that material out, bring it over to where we have room to work it, lime treat that, and then put it back. Where the other concern is, and I think it was in Pearson's report about compaction on that small area over there. So
are you saying that if you do the remove and replace, there's still a risk that you may end up having to go back and do the lime treatment anyway?
not that I know of, no.
No? Okay.
No, we would hopefully that is compacted and do it in the 8-inch lifts, testing it, making sure that it passes the AA compaction requirements coming up, that we wouldn't have that problem.
Is there any other testing that you would do other than just a compaction test?
For the remove and replace,
In either scenario?
okay, remove and replace, we would be doing density tests as they come up, moisture tests of the material, making sure that we're meeting our moisture requirements for the compaction, and then also coming in for the lime treatment, we would be collecting those samples, making sure we're in that PI range of 15 or minus. And we'd also be doing compaction tests on that lime as we put it in.
Is the PI range testing a lab test, or is it can be done in field?
It's a lab test.
So you have to take sample to the lab?
Yes.
Okay. How long does that test take?
Not very long, about a day.
Okay.
Yeah. We have to dry the sample and test it. And
Okay.
go that
Mr.
way.
McIntosh?
So with remove and replace, it's my understanding that the existing material is waterlogged to the point that the PI, it's overly plastic, right?
So it's not really waterlogged. It can withstand more,
Okay.
but it is higher than what we would like to see. And it's also softer than what we'd like to see.
Okay. So if we replace that with fresh material, the remove and replace, is there a risk that the new material would absorb water and eventually become just as bad as what we got now?
My thought on that is that we're going to be installing these under drains. We're going to be collecting the water once the roadway's finished. That water won't have a chance to get to that material. It'll stay dry or drier than normal or what it is now. And those under drains will collect that water, move it out, get it out from beneath the subgrade of our roadway.
Okay.
What's the elevation of those undergrade pipe?
I believe they're 3 to 4 feet below
So I
base
guess
pavement.
really what I'm asking is this going to be setting on top of any remove and replace, or is it going to be setting underneath the remove and replace materials?
It will be setting into it.
In the middle of it? Okay.
Just a similar question on the lime treatment. If we treat with lime, have you ever seen an instance where the lime falls out or settles out, leaving you with just bad material? Again,
I have not. And again, with the installation of under drains, we hope that we don't have water moving through that lime material at all. We hope we collect it and get it out from underneath the roadway as fast as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Proctor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Henthorn, sorry. We had a situation not too long ago where we were trying to put this drainage box in, and I guess maybe Ian, you can help me with the details, but it was hard to find the bottom of the stuff that didn't let the box sink further down. I guess that's part of maybe my hesitation too, with like just replacing the top material, because we tried that to a point, but it didn't work very well. And I'd be concerned we'd run into a similar situation. Does the lime create, for lack of a better term, limestone? I mean, or does it harden up at
So
all?
the lime is actually calcium carbonate, which is the same mineral as lime, and it reacts with the clays to create basically it's not really a cemented soil, but it's a more stable soil at that point. So the box you're talking about, I was out on that project also. That material was much more saturated than this was. it was above the plastic and liquid limits. And so basically we had to dig that material out. So if we had that material here, we would again have to just remove it.
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hamburg.
So removing the deleterious material is your preferred, that's really the top option,
That's
the
one
more
of the two
conservative one.
options. We are not here to make a decision on which option is best.
Because just for residents, the lime option is $328,000 less expensive. That's not an insignificant difference for a city our size. You can't recommend one or the other to us, but can you kind of talk about some of the trade-offs if we went with the less expensive versus just completely removing that material?
So by lime treating, you're going to be a faster fix on the roadway. Basically, you're fixing the material that's already there. So you're scarifying it, adding the lime, moving it right there. You're not excavating all that material out and trying to haul it out. So that's really your trade-off is a faster product to move down the road and get things.
In terms of risk of future failure, is there one that removing the material would be a better option in terms of future possible failure, or do you view both of these as totally valid options?
I think both of them are totally valid. If there is a risk, it is with the lime treatment.
Is there a possibility, and to what degree would it be a possibility, if you can say, that you do the remove and replace and you find out that the soils underneath that are not sufficient to support the remove and replace? So now you have a need to go in and do something deeper. How do you mitigate with that, and what happens with that situation?
So a lot of times when you get to that point, then you have to come in with another geotextile, give you a platform to build up on. There are some other options, but the concern is we don't want to get below the box. So we want to stay where we're above that box floor so that we can build up embankment back up as best we can.
Okay. Mr. Proctor.
Okay, so here's what I'm taking away is there's a remove and replace of the deleterious material, or we can treat it with lime, but one of them removes more cash than the other one, but they're both good options, right?
Correct. Yeah, and it's really not deleterious. It's the correct term is unstable at this point. Sorry about that.
See, here we are showboating on stuff we don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. On terms we learned tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
That's the thing, Mr. David.
So to help me understand, Mr. Henthorn, the soil source that you're getting, that you would get the new R&R material, you're going to test that.
Correct.
But where do you get that, and how do you know that you got enough for the whole road if you need it?
That's contractor's
Okay.
responsibility to do that.
Okay. So your testing will make sure that it's not something with a low PI that you put back in.
Yeah, or a high PI or a high liquid limit where it becomes very plastic with the addition of water.
Okay.
So is there some set standards out there for what this material must meet before you can say, okay, this is acceptable material to remove and place with?
Yes, it's in our geotech report.
It's in your geotech report. Great. Thank you.
And kind of, I know you've been asked this kind of a variety of different ways. I'm an aircraft engineer, and I've given my customer multiple options as well. but I might give a different option if the FAA is looking over my shoulder than if not, sadly. Does KDOT have an opinion on this? And
Not that I know of. They've approved both options, so I don't think they have an opinion. And
No, I have spoken to KDOT and they are acceptable with either option. They really left the choice up to the city.
I know engineers don't give percentages, so.
Correct.
if we do, they're to 4 decimal places.
Before the numbers.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
can you talk a little bit about the differences in timing and additional work days, which will possibly come with more observation services as well?
So basically, the lime treatment is going to be a faster option. It should be done quicker than, yeah, okay. So 7 to 10 working days. And the option A up there is 9 to 12. So.
And you might
What do these
report
all
it
mean?
out, not just give it to them.
Yeah,
Sure. So Pearson had provided us with a working day edition and it was, just a second. Get the rest of my notes together. The first option was 68 working days for the removal and replacement, and then 53 working days for the lime. So a little bit quicker, not a whole lot of difference. The big change is when you're looking at individual phases. The phase 1, which we're in right now, they have 9 to 12 working days for the removal and replacement, or 7 to 10 for the lime treatment. So it's a little bit less, it's a couple days less, and then it changes based on the phase that you're in. The larger phases take more time, but it's kind of the same difference. It's a couple of days, maybe 5 to 6 shorter for the lime treatment versus the removal and replacement.
One more, Mr. Mayor. So is there any chance you'd do something different in different phases? That you'd recommend something different in a different phase?
So the 2 feet of aggregate beneath the base, we did that basically on the subgrading of the shale. We know that as we move north into this project area, that the shale is going to come up and be basically right under the pavement. And so that's what our design was based off of, was removing that and then moving forward. So as we move forward, when we're into the shale, we're not going to do any of these other options. We're not going to be doing lime treatment or over X unless we just find a really bad spot in that shale. But the shale should be stable enough to withstand the construction of the roadway and with the pavement section that we've designed.
So you're not removing the shale? You're
Yeah.
not remove and replace with shale?
Yeah, we are
Okay.
2 feet.
2 feet, okay.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the areas that you have, like what has been discovered that we're currently dealing with, if you find that any other place, you're going to do, if we say remove and replace, you're going to do remove and replace. But once you move to an area that it's shale that's in that area, you're going to do remove and replace regardless of what we tell you.
No, we're going to be removing, just like it says in our design, is that we're going to be removing 2 feet. That's going to be rock. And then our pavement sets on top of that.
Right.
So
So right now,
there won't be any, sorry,
No,
and
go ahead.
there won't be any over excavation of an extra 2 feet or whatever into the shale portion at that point.
You won't go into the shale dirt.
It should be stable enough to withstand the road.
That confuses me because I understood shale was part of the problem that we are having with this road.
That's why we're removing 2 feet of it.
All right.
So what are we
So-
treating with lime? Is it shale or is it not shale? Soil.
But this is soil that's 2 feet below the 2 feet that we've already have a issue with, or that we've already removed? I mean, I'm confused as to what we're removing, what we're not removing.
Okay.
So,
So I think I can kind of help with the explanation. Over the entire roadway, where we've got our concrete or our asphalt pavement section, and then we've got 8 inches of rock, and then we have a geogrid. Below that, in the original design, we disked up and then compacted the soil and then built up from there. In this design, under that geogrid, we're going down 2 feet and replacing it with rock. The purpose of that was to get rid of the shale and any other issues that we had. So now we're down minus that additional 2 feet in phase 1. We have the soft soil. So now we've got the change order in front of us to give us a solid base. So your options are either to go down an additional 2 feet or lime treat for 12 inches.
okay, so once you get into a section that is shale, so the first 2 feet is always going to come off regardless of where you are on the road. And the second set of 2 feet may not come off once you hit the shale area.
That is
Is that what
correct.
you're saying? Okay.
And KDOT knows this, but KDOT had requested that we take both options of the lime treatment or the removal and replace over the entire area. So there's a quantity in the plans if we need it.
Yeah,
If
but
we
this
do
is-
not need it, then it will not be charged.
Yeah, then you won't need to do that. Great. I appreciate that.
So one follow-up on that. So you're saying if I drew a cross section as I go south, the shale goes deeper? And
That is correct.
thanks.
So can you tell us some other projects where you've done this lime process and how that's worked out?
It's been a while since I've done them, but lots of the KDOT projects require a lime treated subgrade. I-70, we did that. 75 highway, when we redid that, it had a lime treated subgrade underneath it.
So you had to go in and do the subgrade and always just improve it with a percentage of lime?
Correct.
Okay. We're not trying to build a highway here. We're just trying to build
That's right.
a commuter road, basically, right?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
one last question, I think. In reading through the Pearson's quote, they specifically state if they are required to jump around and work on smaller unproductive areas, and then in parentheses, it is understood that the east side of the box does not fall under a productive work area. They'll need to requote, essentially. So earlier you had mentioned that if we do the lime treatment, we could excavate a little bit from the east side of the box, move it to a workable area, treat it with lime, and then put it back.
Correct.
Is that going to require a requote from Pearson?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or concerns? Well, I don't have a issue either way. I guess I don't know what to say, but it's really up to the council. what they
Mr. Mayor,
wanna do.
I did have one more question for you. So is there any difference on when construction would restart based on alternative 1 or 2?
That would be a contractor question.
I have talked with Pearson on that, and they are estimating the week of July 6th. If they can get their work schedule in, they may be able to start sooner, but they said to assume July 6th.
For either option?
For either option, correct.
Mr. Proctor,
Are we at a point of making a motion?
if you want, that's your prerogative.
All right. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve change order number 26 with Pearson Construction LLC for the Woodlawn Roadway Project and authorize necessary signatures for alternative 2, use lime treated subgrade with geogrid in an amount not to exceed $712,024, mainly because it takes less cash and less time for the community.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Proctor and a second by Mr. David to choose alternate 2 of the proposed change order. Any additional questions or discussions before we go for a vote? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Henthorn, for your help and Ann as well. I appreciate the input. So we'll move on to item 11B. So Was Up Fireworks has applied for a fireworks display permit. The display is planned for June 27th at Was Up Fireworks retail location on Webb Road. Last year, the same applicant was approved for display in the same location. So this application has been reviewed by the Bel Aire Police Department, Sedgwick County Fire District 1, and City Attorney. Quiet group tonight.
Did you ask for discussion?
If you want a discussion, yes. Or if you want to make a motion, that's fine too. Either way, it's your option, whatever you want to do.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I'll motion to approve the fireworks display permit application from Was Up Fireworks. And that's written funny. And with the request for waiver of the $250 public display permit fee and authorize city staff to execute the necessary documents.
Second.
Motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, I have some discussion.
Certainly.
And Mr. Mayor, is that to approve the fireworks display and approve the applicant's request for waiver of the 250? I just wanted to confirm.
That was the intent.
I believe he said both, but yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. Okay, that's fine. Mr. McIntosh.
Our current fireworks code, in section, I'm trying to find it quickly here. Section 6.4.6I. I'm not finding it now. States that a single operator can only apply to shoot a public display of fireworks once per calendar year. I believe this motion, if we're going to approve the second application, needs to also revise this code.
Because it's the same operator, even though it's a different applicant?
Correct.
I guess that's a city attorney question.
Six 6.4.6I.
I might ask operator, where are you getting the operator words? I no individual business and or organization shall receive more than one permit per public display of fireworks per calendar year to limit negative impacts upon abutting properties. A site for a public display of fireworks shall only be authorized for a public display of fireworks once annually. So that's the site. The city shall limit the number of public display permits to 4 annually. I believe no individual business or organization, Was Up Fireworks would be a business and the city of Bel Aire would be an organization, the way I read it. But again, I default to the city attorney.
Okay, it's very likely I'm misinterpreting our ordinance.
That's why we have an attorney here to help us out with that.
No,
It's very likely I'm misinterpreting her.
no, I read this as well. In fact, the application for the public display shall clearly state the name of the applicant, and the name of the applicant for this specific agenda item is Was Up Fireworks. Then when we go down to that subsection I, it does talk about no individual business or organization shall receive more than one permit for public display. If the council were to approve this application, the recipient of the permit would be Was Up Fireworks. I do understand where council member is coming from, and I agree, because the next agenda item was originally provided by Was Up Fireworks with the concern for what is being stated now. The applicant for the next agenda item will actually be the organization of the city of Bel Aire. If the council were to approve this specific application, it would be provided to the business of Was Up Fireworks, whereas the next agenda item, if it were to be approved by council, would be provided to the organization of the city of Bel Aire. I do believe that going forward, to avoid any vagueness or ambiguity, and I appreciate this because this specific code has been vague and ambiguous for multiple times for this council, not only for the sitting council members, but for prior city council members as well, is to update that language so the interpretation would not be difficult and challenging for council.
So what we have here, though, is and we're talking about item B and C. Item B has a different applicant than item C. It so happens that both have contracted with the same contractor to display fireworks. So I don't know how this plays with the wording of the ordinance, but your sources of contractors to display contracts are very limited, because those have to be licensed individuals to do that work. Not just anybody can come and say, I want to do this display. We have that in the ordinance, I know. So they have to have a civic license for doing that. So does that change the way you're seeing this at all, Ms. Schrock?
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, that there are going to be limited operators for this specific type of service. But the way I do agree with Council Member McIntosh. It is ambiguous, the term. I'm sorry. And that can definitely be updated for next year, but the intent is definitely here, which is shared as far as the applicant, the name of the applicant, and then the group for which the display is planned. I would ask that in this specific, for this meeting, that the applicant for this agenda item, it is truly different than the next applicant. And the effort to make those applicants different was to comply with this specific subsection of the ordinance. And I can make proposals for council for next year to make it more clear and avoid.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Schrock. I'm satisfied.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or discussions for item B only? Let's not venture item C yet, other than the one thing that you said there. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I was going to point out is it's in the code, and I talked to, Ted about if it takes staff time, that's been our typical, thought here is pay for staff time. But of course, this particular event is open to the public, and there's going to be some, I think, free hot dogs and stuff. So I'm totally on board with this. It's neat. He's doing this for the community.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussions on item B to approve the display permit and approve the waiver of the fees? There are none. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Move on to item C, and this is the other related item. City of Bel Aire has applied for the fireworks display permit for Public Works Fire Show scheduled for July 11th across from the City Hall campus. And this event is being held as part of the community celebration of America's 250th anniversary and in conjunction with the National Night Out. The city previously hosted fireworks displays at this location in 2020 and 2021. So the permit application has been reviewed by the Bel Aire Police Department, Sedgwick County Fire District 1, and the city attorney.
And Mr. Mayor, I apologize to interrupt, but on our last agenda item, who was our motion and who was our second?
The motion was Mr. David and second was Mr. Proctor. That was the prior motion. My notes are, anyway.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Proctor.
on this one, I will motion to approve the fireworks display permit application request for waiver of the $250 public display permit fee. Authorize city staff to execute the necessary documents.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Proctor and a second by Mr. McIntosh. Any discussion concerning item C? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. On to item D, consider bids and contract for construction. So this is construction of street paving improvements to service Chapel Landing 7. So the cost of the improvements for these projects will be financed through a bond and spread as special assessments against the benefiting lots. And City Engineer Ann Stevens is here to discuss and answer questions. Ms. Stevens. This is kind of old, so been out there for a while, right?
Just a little bit. The original bids were accepted not quite a year ago on June 24th of 25. The bids came in for this project. Kansas Paving was within the estimate on asphalt, but not with concrete. However, in order to put the paving down, you have to get the utilities down. The utilities that had come in were higher than the engineer's estimate, so the developer had asked for a stay so he could figure out what he wanted to do. Those bids came before you a couple of months ago, and the council chose to award the project to Nowak Construction. They were the low bidder at the original time of the bids. So now we're looking at the paving portion of the project. The Nowak has been working on the water, the sanitary sewer, and the storm. That's been going along pretty well. The developer and the developer's engineer, Boffman Company, went and negotiated with Kansas Paving as the low bidder, as the very low bidder for this project, and asked if they would be willing to honor their price from June of 25. They said they would be willing to honor it, but since the materials and fuel and everything has gone up, they did ask for an almost $50,000 increase to account for the material price increases. So that material price increase has been included in the contract and is before you tonight. I will stand for any questions. Hopefully I've explained it enough. It's a little confusing, but happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. McIntosh.
I asked Ted, and I guess I'll ask you, it looks like we are only considering concrete, not the asphalt bid here. The answer I received, the reasoning behind that is due to ongoing maintenance and life expectancy of concrete versus asphalt. Is that the reason?
That was, I'm trying to think back. Typically, the council asks us to bid out both concrete and asphalt. And if the concrete is within 30% of the asphalt, then the council typically chooses to award the concrete because of less maintenance costs and a longer lifetime of service. If I remember correctly, when Baughman reached back out to Kansas Paving, I believe they just negotiated on the concrete option. I do not believe they negotiated on the asphalt option.
Thank you.
So a little bit of both.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
motion to approve the bid from Kansas Paving in an amount not to exceed $574,081.45 to approve the contract as presented and authorize the mayor and city staff to sign all necessary documents.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. David, a second by Ms. Hamburg. Any other questions or discussion? If there are none, I'll call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
And
I'm sorry.
I'm abstaining on this one.
You're abstaining.
Just so
from
that's
this.
clear.
Okay. Correct that. Motion carries 3-0 to 1 abstained. Thank you for that correction. Move on to item E. So these next two items, E and F, are related to multi-use path currently under construction along the south side of 53rd Street and Oliver, between Oliver and Woodlawn. And this is what we kind of talked about with Mr. Ken Lee earlier from Garver. The portions of this path encroach into the pipeline easements owned by both Phillips 66 and KPC Pipeline. The staff has been working closely with both companies to address their concerns and make necessary adjustments. And these concerns have been completed and the final plans have been accepted by the pipeline companies. The encroachment agreement before you tonight formalizes that approval and allow the project to move forward within the easement areas. So city engineer Ann Stevens is here to discuss and answer questions concerning the encroachment agreements.
I was kind of hoping Maria would take the lead on this and she reviewed it, but I'll come up. As the mayor said, these two agreements were discussed earlier with Ken Lee, and they are necessary as the bicycle path or the multi-use path that is walking and biking does encroach into the Phillips 66 and KPC pipeline agreements or pipeline right-of-way easements. This is a necessary step, and it's a fairly standard step as you're going through pipeline easements. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I apologize it's taken so long to get them to you. I have been hounding them every couple of days. Where are these? Where are these? So they're here finally.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
I just wanted to hear from Ms. Schrock. Did you find Mr. Lee's explanation satisfying enough? I know he said those are onerous, but they're kind of standard.
I appreciate Ken Lee sharing his experience with these type of agreements, his observations of the worst case scenario that he shared, I think in the last 25 to 30 years. I did speak to him in the hallway and I told him that these encroachment agreements, the language is extensive. The limitation of liability is not as I would have hoped for. But the other thing that he did share at the podium and with the same thing in the back is that these are standard agreements that he has observed regarding these types of projects, even regarding these specific type of providers. I've shared my concerns with council, so I hope that with all of the information you provided that you can make a decision tonight. And I think even Mr. Mayor has shared the timeline concerns as well.
Yes, the timeline and that these absolutely must tie into the contract with the contractor so that they understand that they're taking on a lot of these responsibilities themselves. They can't be damaging this pipeline. If they do, we're going to ask them to pay for that damage if that happens. I'm sure they won't, but that needs to be the communication up front, not after the fact, right? So,
And these agreements will be provided to KDOT, and the contractor is assuming that they are executed tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. McIntosh.
Ms. Rock, if we were to table these tonight, do you believe we have any leeway with Phillips 66 and KPC to amend some of the language in these agreements? Or are they so standard to the point that they're just going to take a hard line and say no?
That's a very good question, Councilmember McIntosh. I appreciate it. I did reach out to contacts for Phillips 66 and KPC, thanks to staff assisting me with that. Thank you. And I received responses from both. They did say that they were willing to, they said that they were willing to accept any revisions from me, review those, and get back with me. That does not help you tonight, and I apologize for that. This has been very fast moving. Last week was very eventful for everyone. They've made such an incredible effort, city manager, city engineer. But I'm glad to reach out to them and make an effort and get back to council as soon as possible.
And I appreciate that concern to try to get that a better agreement. I'm very concerned that we are 2 years behind on this project, and this would, if we would table these, this will not get this project done by the time school starts. So I'm concerned about that because we wanted this done last year before school started, and here we are again pushing that envelope.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Proctor.
it sounds like from what our engineering friends were sharing was the scope of the construction project as it is very low risk since it's starting at grade and building up.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that we necessarily would need any additional protections. I mean, they said it was pretty much not that big of a deal.
Well, I kind of agree with you, but I also appreciate Mr. McIntosh's concern about the language. So, yeah.
Me too.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think
But
the
at
risk
what
is
point
pretty
are we
minimal to us.
buying more insurance than we need and just not getting the job done?
Right. I appreciate that. Thank you,
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Hamburg.
make a motion to approve the encroachment agreement with Phillips 66 Pipeline for the 53rd Street Multi-Use Path Project and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Hamburg, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any other questions or discussion? If there are none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. Mr. McIntosh opposed. Thank you. So we'll move on to item F, which is a similar encroachment agreement, just a different set of pipelines, but the same area. So this is with KPC, and the first one was with Phillips 66.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
a motion to approve the
David.
encroachment agreement with KPC Pipeline LLC for the 53rd Street Multi-Use Path Project and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
A motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. Proctor. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries 3-1, again with Mr. McIntosh dissenting. All right, thank you. We already did the executive session, so we'll move on to item 13A. Item 13A is a draft letter that I have written with input from Mayor Harris of Keachai concerning the K254 improvements that we would like to send to the project folks at KDOT concerning this project and how we would like see them proceed. So this is up to you as a council to say, do you support this? Do you think this is the wrong direction or what? If we start wordsmithing it, it's going to be a long meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. David.
I wasn't at the meetings, but could you elaborate? As I understand, we're recommending the interchange be at Rock rather than Webb, and it's a higher cost option.
Actually, that is not accurate. We're recommending the interchange be at Webb Road.
Webb instead of Greenwich.
And
Sorry.
Rock Road will have an overpass so that folks can get from north to south across the road, but they won't have access to the road.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. My
that's
real
fine.
question is, can you elaborate on why we want the interchange at the more costly location than
Okay,
Cape?
so there's a couple reasons there, but obviously can't put all this into a letter, but just in the discussions. One is it meets the 2-mile standard for freeways, that you have 2 miles between interchanges. Woodlawn to Rock is 1 mile, Rock to Webb is a 2 mile. So that's the one reason. The other is that this is where the traffic is today. There is some projection for traffic at Greenwich, and so there is some truck traffic there. But the road is kind of, as you go further north, it's kind of jagged. It's all paved, but it isn't straight through. It's got, I don't know, turns to it. I've not driven it myself, so I don't really know what those turns are like. But I've heard people have told me that it does have turns to it. So it does have some truck traffic on it today. But what I understand from engineers in the project, that if you do it this way, that truck traffic can get on to 254 westbound, do a U-turn at Webb, and get back going eastbound if they need to do that. But their traffic studies didn't show that there was that much traffic going that direction. Most of the traffic, they said, was going westbound. So then that makes more sense if that's the case, if I'm understanding the traffic engineers correctly.
Okay, but then there's the other side of the story that said it's cheaper, it's substantially lower cost to do it at Greenwich rather than Webb, right? And
it is substantially lower cost, but it's not as robust. I don't think it's as robust for the communities. In fact, for Keachai, their city boundary is Rock Road.
right,
So,
so obviously they have a best.
you're moving it
interest.
further away from them altogether if you go to Greenwich. Okay. Now our boundary isn't there, but that's theirs. Okay. And they don't, I can't speak for Keachai, but they don't, from what I understand here, they don't see them going east of Rock Road in any time foreseeable future. So that's just the reasoning behind it. This isn't necessarily a vote, although we could vote on it if you want to, but just wanted to see if there's consensus here to move forward with this.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't finish, but that was my only
Mhm.
question. You guys are a lot more involved in it than I do, so I know you have Bel Aire's interest in mind behind that.
I think Ms. Hamburg was at the meeting. I don't know if she has a different perspective on this or not.
I haven't thought deeply about it. The price tags were significantly different, but that's KDOT's, price tag. Let's speed it up. I haven't thought as deeply about these issues in terms of getting into this level of detail.
State the numbers.
Yeah.
What's that? What's the question?
The difference.
May you elaborate on the rough price tag differences between Webb and
Was it was
Greenwich?
42 million versus 26 million, if I remember right?
Yeah,
That
that's
is a big
about what
difference.
it was. It was substantially different, but it's a little surprising in that if you look at the draft design, and of course this is not design, it's more preliminary plan. Okay, the interchange at Webb is a lot more complicated than an interchange at Greenwich, and that's why it's more expensive. But I don't see, and I've not asked this of the engineers, is okay, if you don't build an interchange at Webb and you build one at Greenwich, is it not going to get more complicated? And I didn't ask that question, so I can't answer that question. But because that traffic's going to go someplace, right?
If the interchange were to be built at Greenwich, what happens at Webb? Does it just become an overpass that has to divert to Greenwich or Woodlawn to get on 254?
The project proposal that they had basically let you make right turns onto the freeway, but not left turns. You couldn't cross or make left turns at Webb. You could just make a right turn. And I think, was there an R cut U-turn on that? Does anybody remember? I mean, if somebody can pull it up, it's this is available online, but I don't have the access. I don't know where it is. Yeah, they did put one out there, and it's kind of surprised several of us. So yeah, but it does look very different. Yeah. So, but you're not the only one to be surprised by that.
Have you guys just been collaborating together on this, or did you just want to make sure you have a seat? Okay. I didn't know if she approached you or you guys have just been.
We kind of talked at the
Okay.
meeting that we would do this and talked about what we would do. Yeah. So then I did the rough draft. She reviewed it, made edits, and so it's been a collaborative effort between us.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it both ways. $20 million estimated price tag difference is substantial, or what's that? Not quite double the cost. That's. I would imagine that impact the timeline of how soon they can get it going, but maybe not. But the other thing is, I know the Circle Greenwich Elementary buses, they take Greenwich up and down, so it's probably better for even bus traffic to be able to handle that. And although I mean, with Webb Road, that comes right through the heart of where I think we're going to see a whole bunch of business growth for Bel Aire happen. So I'd like to not choke that off. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough call.
Yeah.
Because I do see that as negatively impacting our city to not have it on Webb. I think Webb's much better and it maintains the 2 mile despite. I just don't understand where the extra cost is coming from. Did they dig into that at all? Is it because they'd have to have a service road as well, and they'd have to buy extra right of way?
No, they didn't. In fact, on the surface, on the access roads and such, they said they did not analyze that because they needed to know what the major plan was so they could analyze that. So they don't have any frontage road, backage roads, any of that in their plan today. That's to be developed based upon what's decided about these interchanges, and then that will help define what they need to do.
So I guess I feel like I'm at a loss on where the almost doubling of the cost occurs when we're talking about. Oh, you got it.
It's the right of way acquisition. It's like 50 acres needed for Webb versus 12 for Greenwich.
Oh, you know why that is? They took Webb and did an offset from the existing road bed. I remember that now. So Webb has got an offset to the west. I don't know how many feet, but it's an offset to the existing road bed. And I don't know what the reason for that was. I'm sure there was a reason for it, but Greenwich did not have that offset. It went straight through. So less right-of-way requirement because you're not moving the roadbed, right?
50 acres is $20 million.
I don't know. I'm not looking.
That's just the difference. I was just open to discussion if you think that's what's driving the cost.
Okay. All right. I'm just
looking at what's on the report.
Okay. It's just a really stark difference.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand that. So.
And do you have any, no? Okay. I'm just kidding. I'd prefer, if the costs were at all in the ballpark, even, if someone has to buy 50 grand of CRP or whatever, pasture land, I'd much prefer web, but I don't know. Surely they can figure out how to, I don't know. That doesn't compute to me on how it's so much more. There must be something that they're not talking about. I don't know.
There could be.
I'd prefer web if it was all equal.
Okay.
The only thing I'll add to the conversation is with these types of large projects, yes, they'll ask for a local match, and that percentage, whatever we pay, is double. If we choose a double, I understand that, but we're talking somewhere in the ballpark of 10 to 20% would be considered a local match. Now, what is a local match? It could be Bel Aire, Keachai, the county, possibly the city. So we haven't decided how that pie is cut yet. But it's important to keep in mind how expensive options are. But just wanted to give you a little insight to what's going to occur once they throw it into the pipeline. Is it's not necessarily dollar for dollar for us. It depends on how we structure ourselves within that local match that we'll have, which will probably be a good portion of that because we're mainly in Bel Aire. But that's how we'll do it with our partners.
Okay. Any other opinions on this? Yeah, I appreciate your input, so thank you. But I get it. But I can't answer that question. It's just that's a question we got to ask those engineers. But you're certainly welcome to ask them. I mean, it's not like that discussion is not closed. It's still there. But anyway. Well, if there's no more discussion on this, we're going to do this budget workshop right after this meeting. Are we still going to do that? How long are we going to need for that budget workshop?
So
Okay.
what the plan would be is to do we do a 5-minute recess, let the AV room reset, and then go into a workshop. The main reason we want to do at least a majority of the workshop is, number one, because Barry worked hard on this, but number two, the July 7th meeting will have to approve the revenue neutral rate. So we at least want to touch on this subject. If it was a non-starter, I'd say let's just go home and do it another night, but let's at least consider coming back into a workshop so we can have a little insight for when you come back on July 7th and vote for the revenue neutral rate resolution.
Okay. Well, if there's other discussion, if not, we'll move on to adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. David, a second by Mr. McIntosh. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Come back in 5 minutes to do the workshop budget.